My name's Lionheart. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, a creative visionary, and poet. If my personality was a color, I think it would be kind of be a mix. Like it probably like a mix of colors, man. I'm definitely not just like a one-tone kind of person. So maybe would say a few variations of emerald green and some really dark, intense purples with like pockets of like volcanic red mahogany sparks. I don't know. Yeah, like it just be very multi-dimensional kind of colors. Yeah. Ooh, all right. So with my personal style, I definitely kind of want to push myself a bit more. Like there are parameters of our comfort, and I find that if I was to use more colors, it will kind of push me outside of my personality a bit more. And that's kind of the creative expansion mindset that I have. Like I want to be more than just who I am today. Like I can be cool, I can be charismatic, but like what's outside of those boundaries that I've created mentally. So yeah, that's what color would do for me. If self-love was a building, it would consist of a phrase or description that they call like parametric architecture. It has a lot of geometry and form into it. And I think self-love is something which constantly has like undulating, wavy, kind of like a flowing state. Like it's not just one thing, like we're growing through time. So I think this building would have some sort of movement and adaptive qualities, you know? The material would definitely be kind of scale-like. You know, like snakes can kind of slither through like their terrain. I feel like self-love requires you to change, adapt, and be malleable in a way that, like, you know, currently the architecture is very just still and stagnant. But I think if it was a building, self-love would always change and it would make space for you more than anything else. Ascension means to me, I would say, when I think of ascension, it's like, all right, what's the process of elevation that you're gonna take? Like, what's the higher echelon of you achieving something? Is it you raising the taste palette in someone's perception, the emotions? It sounds so surface level to say like just upgrade and like advance, but it's a metamorphosis. That's what I call it. Ascension to me is a metamorphosis of the areas we think, you know, we're perfect in, and all of a sudden it's like your eyes are wide open. Woo! Let's not get personal. Okay. You know, there's typically an early stage stigma of being a poet. You know, you tell someone, hey, I'm gonna do poetry full time, and it's just like, how are you gonna pay the bills? You know? And the ascension I've had in my creative career has more so been about navigating my desire to be an artist, like a true artist, not just one who, you know, focuses on a single medium and that's it, like I'm known for just this, but more so an artist who finds a way to turn mediums into his paintbrush, mediums into his canvas, mediums into his muse, mediums into like a revolutionary act. Like those things are important to me. So yeah, turning myself from a poet into a multi-hyphen artist has definitely been like my ascension. I was so close, this close to getting emotional. I was like, nope, we ain't doing it. The most rewarding side to being an artist is proving my childhood fears that they were wrong all along and I could become the person I am now. That's the most rewarding side. Green! I love green. It just has this very, how would I say, endearing and alluring quality to it. I think that, you know, colors have cues, where it's like psychologically or spiritually, I will see a particular color in a certain tone, a certain hue, and all of a sudden like I feel very rooted in a thought or in like a mindset. So yeah, green, I would love to use green more in like architectural stuff that I design. So again, it's definitely an unconscious and conscious influence. I think depending on your personal relationship to color, it could be anything. You know, it could be trauma inducing, it could be, you know, romantically inspiring, it could be a course to make you want to be a bit more dominant or a bit more relaxed, a bit more submissive. Like, color has a way of creating a roadmap for your actions and your thoughts. I don't know if it would surprise people. Anime is not going to surprise people. I think some people know that I like anime already. What would surprise people that? Maybe that I like singing along to like Portuguese kizomba, and I don't know all the words, but you know when you don't know the words and it still feels good, like, yeah. So I'll be there in the shower just going crazy. So yeah, I think that would surprise people still. I think there's like a wedded relationship, because, you know, throughout the centuries, architecture's had this particular framework, which is like, all right, it has to be functional, you know, it has to be shelter, it has to kind of like encompass an intentionality, right? But ultimately, it's about how do we house the human experience, and within the human experience, there is, I guess, this multi-diversity of how we think culturally, psychologically, and how we impart that into the world without it being forceful. Now, architecture can be this, how do they call it? Like a cocoon almost, right? And when you reach a certain place, you're like, I'm done with this area now. I need to move to a new area and become something other. Fashion for me is like a cocoon. The moment I'm in it, I've almost broken through now of who I used to be. It's given me a chance to have a blossoming moment mentally, because I would say that fashion is, you know, the architectural fabric, you know? And some people might argue that sometimes a home matters based on how it looks, but you wear your home, you know, and in some ways it wears you too. So yeah, I definitely say they're wedded to each other. I wouldn't kind of separate them and say, oh, this is that and this is that. There are so many like fashion designers who are influenced by architecture. And I would also remember one of my lecturers in school. She used to study ballet because she wanted to understand how the body moved in space and in certain materials. And I'm like, how would that influence your architectural practice? And she was like, well, I now have this very close intimacy with how the body reacts, the different restrictions, different flexibilities, and different comforts. And I'm like, oh, you're a genius. You know what I mean? So yeah, they're definitely connected or interlocked somehow. I would say, all right, I don't even know if I want to say that. We're all human, innit? We're all human, right? I remember writing this love poem, and I was thinking of like, what are some of the ludicrous things that you could do with a partner who you care about, who you love, that is very goofy, very cheeky, very kind of tongue-in-cheek. And I was just sitting there thinking to myself, like, you found you found someone that like you can ride with if both of you can like fart and like laugh about that shit. Obviously leave the room, because that's, I mean, no judgments, but yeah, like that's probably the weirdest the weirdest place that I developed the muse from. If my artwork could talk, what would be the funniest thing it would say? Funniest thing. I don't think my art is humorous, and maybe it would say crack a joke once in a while, no? Yeah. I think for me, I'm always excited by, you know, how far someone can stretch the imagination or what creativity is, particularly the confidence in putting men in color, right? And a multiplicity of color as well. There are so many, like I remember having stories where friends would tell me, oh, we should only wear like white, grays, and black. Like that's what men should be seen in, you know? And for a long time I kind of believed it, because there wasn't examples, or there wasn't a desensitization to what I thought cool or acceptable was. And I think, you know, when I look at the curatorial approach of Delores by Delores, I see the challenges of like the male psyche, of like how we can actually develop and be more, because it's not just what we put on, it's who we become because of it. And I see that challenge. I definitely feel like there's a social, psychological, and playful way of almost adapting masculinity for me, which is what I mess with very well, yeah. In one word, exuberant.